Hey guys, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. Today we're back here in the backyard, got a big class coming up, and I need to make some char material for a fire class. So we're going to do a couple of things a little bit different today than some of the char videos you've seen me do in the past. Now typically you'll see me use some type of a cotton material, and we'll use a small Altoids can like this. And we'll just put some cotton material in here, loosely laid, close it up good and tight, and throw it into fire and make char out of it. Or you may be familiar with something more like this, one of these small round tins that a lot of us keep our flint and steel kits and such. Well, these work great and they make good char, but I need a lot of char. So today we're going to step it up and we're going to go to a little bit bigger tin. This is a tin that some cookies came in back at Christmas time, and I just saved that metal tin, and I've taken and punched a small hole in the top of it. Now if you remember, the principle behind making char is we put a material in this box and we starve it of oxygen. So the material starts to decompose and turns into something very similar to charcoal, but it chars it up and it'll take a spark extremely well. And we're going to use a couple of things today to do this, one of which is some blue jeans. I've simply cut the legs off of them, and you know, you can take and sew those up and make nice little bags for your kit. So I always save those for last. And then I just took the rest of the jeans and just cut it up into these big slop pieces so that we can char that up. I do not want it compressed inside that box. I want it to lay in there nice and loose. The other thing we're going to use, and I think I'll make this first, is some punkwood char. Now punkwood, if you're not familiar with it, you can find it out in the woods, and it's usually hardwoods, at least that's what I have found, that has started to decompose. Now this is not eaten up with termites and it's not rotten, but punkwood gets, well, you can break it with your hands and it's spongy. As you push on it, it's actually soft. And I'll bring this up a little bit closer so you can see it. And what happens is you can break it apart real easily, but see how it's in these long pieces of fiber like that? It doesn't just crumble and turn into sawdust per se. As much as it does, it just separates between the different grain. So let me take you over here and, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and put some in a box first. We'll start charring it. And then I'll take you over to a stump where I was able to harvest some of this. And I'll show you what it looks like on the stump. Now I'm going to break this up into pieces. I like it about the size of the end of my finger or so. So I'm going to just rapidly break this up. Now some of this is still a little bit hard and some of it is nice and spongy. I'm not going to be real particular right now with it. I've got plenty of it here and I've got plenty of it to do. And I'm not going to fill this box all the way up. I'm going to put it maybe 2/3 of the way, giving it plenty of room to cook and do its thing. Maybe just a little bit more. Alright, so here we go. Here's our box of char, and that's about the size of the largest piece. You can see that compared to my finger. So I'm going to put that in there, seal the lid up good and tight, and we're going to just throw that right there on that bed of coals. Now let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. And what you're going to see, all right, here we go. Okay, we see our little hole there in the top of the tin. As that begins to cook and starts to become char, smoke's going to start coming out of this thing, pushing like a chimney. and it's starting right now. And when it's done, that smoke will stop coming out of there. Then what we need to do is we'll pull it off the coals, let it completely cool, and then once it's cool, we'll see what we have. If that top comes open before it has a chance to cool down, it'll spontaneously combust and it'll just burn up and you'll have nothing left but ash. Charcoal takes a spark, or char punkwood takes a spark very easily, so it doesn't take much to get it going. So let's move over here to the stump right quick and I'll show you where I harvested this. Okay, so here's our stump, and this tree was cut down a couple of years ago, and it was either a sycamore tree or a gum tree. I can't remember which one, and it's so far decomposed now I can't tell. But it was cut off and left as a stump, and over time as it started to decay, the bugs got in it, and then the woodpeckers came and started pecking into it. And then one day I noticed all of these small pieces that were laying around, and I came out and looked at it, and sure enough, it was punkwood. Now, not all of this is good punkwood. Some of the outside of it has turned into where when you scrape it, it just falls down like rotten wood. It just falls all apart. This part right up in here, you can pull it out. It's very spongy. It holds together. It breaks in between the growth rings, and it's nice material, and it's dry. It's not wet. And then some of this up here is still very hard and wood-like, and it will not break apart. When it does break, it breaks like a piece of wood, not like a sponge coming apart in sections. So that's what you look for. As you're walking out through the woods, you see some of this, you can always collect it up, and when you're starting to make some char, you can try this. I like using this better than I like using cotton material, because I think it better represents what we would use if we were in a self-reliant situation. We're not going to be cutting up our fabrics unless it's absolutely necessary, kind of a last ditch type effort, because we want to keep that cotton product for our other uses. But this wood that we can char up is a resource. It's found all over the place. We just have to keep our eyes open for it, take advantage of it when we see it, collect it up, keep it dry, and at our next fire, go ahead and make up plenty of char, keeping it in our char tin, and we'll have it for the next fire. So let's go back over to the campfire and see how our char is cooking. Okay, as you can see, that hole in the top of the tin is off gassing now. You can also tell that there's some smoke coming out around the edge of the tin. This tin is so large, the top has actually started to deform, and I had to push it back down on there with the poker to make sure that that didn't open up so much that oxygen could get in there and cause my char to catch on fire. So when this batch is done, I'll probably have to burn the top of that upside down, get all that red paint off of it, and hopefully it'll warp back down flat once it cools down. But you can see that smoke off gassing. I'm going to continue to let this cook until that smoke stops coming out of that tin, and then we'll open it up and see what we have. Now, if it's not all the way done, all you have to do is put it right back on and continue the cooking process. And let's say it cooks down, or you have a smaller tin that you make your char in and you need to add some material to it, you don't have to worry about taking that stuff that's already done out. You can just add some new fresh material to it, continue your cooking process, and that stuff that's already done will just stay in its same state, and the new stuff will become char. Okay, I've pulled the tin off of the fire here. Let's take a look at what we've got. Alright, so it looks like it charred up nice, and you can see the amount of reduction that we have, how much that has reduced compared to what we had when we started. I would say we started off with a good 2/3, and now we're lucky if we've got 1/3. So it looks good and dry and charred up, but the real test is, does it work or not? So let's put a piece down here on this top. Break out the old flint and steel kit. And let's see if we can get it to take a spark. Alright, get that cleaned up a little bit. And there it is. Now that's good char. And that'll give us a good hot ember. We can take that and put it in our bird's nest or in our tinder bundle. And we've got some good material for making fire. Okay guys, well I'm going to get on to making some more charred material for the gathering up and filling this tin full. Get everything ready for that class coming up here in a few weeks. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this as we made some punkwood. I'll search around as I'm doing some walkabouts in the bush coming up here before long. We'll see if we can find some more materials that we can use to make good char. Until then, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft and Global Safety and Survival. Take care and God bless.